Hello my friends, and today we finally have some good news. Although all those waiting for victory probably already know that yesterday evening in the USA they voted for assistance to Ukraine, and after the vote in Congress, Ukrainian flags were raised.
Voting results as of now. Pushpin Congress failed the bill on the security policy on the southern border of the United States. Pushpin the House of Representatives supported the bill on support for the Indo-Pacific region, which provides for the allocation of $8.1 billion. Pushpin the U.S. House of Representatives has supported a bill that, among other things, extends sanctions against Russia, and also requires the owner of TikTok to sell this application, otherwise it will be banned in the U.S.
Next in the line is approval from the Senate and the White House. So the vote will take place on Tuesday, but it's most likely that support will now come from everyone. And soon the occupiers will be in hot water.
Zelensky thanked the U.S. House of Representatives for approving aid to Ukraine. We hope that the bills will be supported in the Senate and sent to President Biden for consideration. Thank you, America, the president said.
And, as announced yesterday, after the approval of support for Ukraine, arms could be delivered in approximately a week. Therefore, the occupiers will soon be unable to advance further into Ukrainian territory, which is why they are trying today to deploy any reserves to achieve some goals. And here is what analysts are writing about this.
Russian troops may be ready to start offensive operations at the end of May. The Russians may be considering different directions for their future offensive in Ukraine. To organize an offensive operation, the Russian Federation needs at least 2 weeks. This opinion was expressed by a military expert, Reserve Colonel of the SBU Mikhailo Prichula, in an interview with the publication Glavrid. The offensive of the Russian Federation, possible directions. According to the expert, the occupiers can go on the offensive in any direction. Hypothetically, they can consider various options. However, things will not necessarily work out the way the enemy intended. They may try to go on the offensive, for example, in the east or in the north in areas where there is a railway. To get a convenient place to deploy a large bridgehead, Prichula suggested.
As you can see, friends, today the situation is starting to improve. As I've said before, soon there will be celebrations on our streets. And now, warehouses and bases of the occupiers will be raided and exploded even more. And of course, Russians are extremely unhappy today that they will once again face failure on all fronts. And Medvedev expressed his anger on this matter.
No one doubted that American legislators would approve help to a gang of neo-Nazis. It was a vote of joyful U.S. bastards. A. For the continuation of the civil war of the divided people of our previously united country. B. For maximizing the number of victims of this war. We, of course, will win, despite the $61 billion bloody dollars that will mainly go down the throat of their insatiable military-industrial complex. Strength and truth are behind us. But taking into account the Russophobic decision that took place, I cannot with all sincerity not wish the United States to plunge into a new civil war as quickly as possible.
Overall, the hatred among Russians is off the charts today. So it's hard to imagine what propaganda will start saying about this. And Peskov threatened the US with a response for the confiscation of Russian assets, which the congressman voted for.
The United States will be responsible for the decision to confiscate the property of the Russian Federation. Moscow will take measures that meet its interests without a time limit, Press Secretary of the Russian President Peskov.
Overall, it's clear they won't be able to do anything, and Russia is seriously ready. But for now, let's move on to today's situation along the front line. So it's very challenging here without assistance. And the occupiers have increased the number of attacks to the maximum level, with 91 attacks in a day. And that's a lot. So let's start with the direction of Chasiv Yar. Around 20 assaults have been recorded here, with attacks continuing in the Novy microdistrict and Klishchiivka. There is also a large number of shelling, indicating they are trying to push forward with all their might. So they are using incendiary shells, rockets, artillery, mortars, basically almost the entire arsenal. But despite this, the Ukrainian forces continue to hold the defense, and it seems that until the arrival of assistance from the US, the occupiers won't be able to capture Chasiv Yar. Moreover, the Ukrainian forces will likely obliterate all the occupiers' bases, and the situation should stabilize. So such strikes have already begun yesterday.
Strike on the command post of the 331st Airborne Division. On April 16, 2024, a strike was carried out on the command post of the 331st Parachute Regiment of the 98th Airborne Division, Military Unit 71211, Kostroma, in the city of Bakhmut, Donetsk region. The command post was a two-story administrative building in the central part of the city. The strike was carried out by 2 missiles fired from the HIMARS MLRS. As a result of the strike, 8 officers of the regiment were killed. Among the dead: Chief of Regimental Intelligence, Saturn; Chief of Regimental Artillery, Prokopiev; Regimental Communications Chief, Kotov; Senior Assistant to the Chief of Staff of the regiment, Panteleev.
And soon there will be many more such strikes, because new ammunition for the HIMARS systems is also expected to be in the new aid package. In the Avdiivka direction, so the occupiers are also trying with all their might to break through further. 18 attacks were recorded in a day. Storms continue in Ocheretine, Novokalinove, and attempts are also being made to advance in the Berdichi, Umanske, and Yasnobrodivka areas. Regarding Ocheretine, there are again reports that the occupiers have entered the settlement. Perhaps the Ukrainian forces will manage to drive them out again, but we are waiting for official information. But as seen, they are storming with a maximum wide front to reach the Karelsky Reservoir and reach new front lines. In the direction of Marinka, the occupiers continue to storm Novomykhailivka, and battles are taking place in the vicinity of Georgiivka. In the Vuhledar area, so the occupiers have resumed attacks on Vodyane, and attempts to storm Starmayorske and Urozhaine are ongoing. So one attack was conducted on each populated area within the day, but no successes were achieved, thus the front line remains unchanged. In the Zaporizhia direction, the occupiers have ceased all attacks, and without achieving success near Botine and Verbove, continue only with shelling of the front line setting. In the Kherson direction, so the occupiers conducted 3 assaults on the village of Krinki on the left bank. However, all attacks were unsuccessful for the Russians. Moreover, shelling of the right bank continues unabated, and the situation remains challenging. So the Russians, in turn, report that due to strong winds, FPV drones were not operational, so they conduct evacuations of the 200s.
It's quiet today. Strong winds and rain interfere with drone operations. Arta is also silent today. Taking advantage of the bad weather, both we and the enemy began collecting and evacuating the 200s. Maybe for many mothers and wives the period of uncertainty will end.
In the Siversk direction, the occupiers continue their attacks on Bilogorivka, Verkhnyokamensky, and Spirny. So the shelling persists at the former intensity, but the Russians haven't achieved any success, and the front line remains unchanged over the day. In the direction of Kreminna, the occupiers conducted 9 attacks on the village of Terny. They are launching attacks relentlessly, but despite their efforts, the front line remains unchanged, and they still cannot push back the Ukrainian forces across the river, which is very hardening. In the area of Kupiansk, so the occupiers are not conducting offensive actions and only sporadic shelling is reported. However, the activity is not at its highest, so the situation can be considered stable. And that's all from me. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.